So the difficulty that these animal welfare policies have had is even if you outlaw a practice domestically, to the extent that it's cheaper to produce meat that way, people will just import meat produced that way that is made elsewhere. And so states in the US who have tried to do this have had this problem. Countries in Europe that have tried to do this have had this problem. How do you solve the lowest common denominator problem in animal welfare standards?
Yeah, it's a huge problem. So advocates in the US passed ballot measures in Florida and Arizona to ban gestation crates. And then the pork industry just imported crated pork from other states into those states. Mm-hmm. So advocates then went to California and Massachusetts and passed ballot measures that extended the same standards to the sale of pork within the state. Said you can't sell pork from crated pigs anywhere. I think that is a critical move. And we're seeing the European Union now considering doing the same thing, imposing animal welfare standards equally on imports. I think that policy is critical to not just ensuring that you're not getting these laws undercut, but also to changing the political dynamic. Because domestic farmers, local farmers, are going to be very opposed to any law if they realize they're just going to get undercut by out-of-state competition, rightly so. And so I think this is a chance to also change that political dynamic so they can actually support the law, knowing that they are not at a relative disadvantage.
Right. And potentially reversed by an upcoming bill, right?
This is right. So the pork industry, unfortunately, has looked at these laws in California and Massachusetts and wants to do everything it can to undermine them. I mean, it knows this is the only way it can be effectively regulated, given it has an absolute hold on the legislature in Iowa and North Carolina, which are the main states for pork production. It knows that it needs to stop any other state from setting production standards or sales standards. And so it first went to the Supreme Court. It first said, this is unconstitutional. The states can't do this. And the Supreme Court disagreed. We won at the Supreme Court. And so now it has gone to Congress. And it's saying to Congress, you need to wipe out these state laws. You need to stop them from doing this. And the unfortunate thing is the Senate and the House are both on track to do that. So in the upcoming Farm Bill, there is language that would ban states from passing laws on the sales standard, on animal welfare sales standards on goods. And right now, the default path is that will pass as part of the Farm Bill in the next few months.
Okay, so if these advocates are able to pass these laws or ballots at the state level, and it's popular enough that they're passing, why is it at the national level they can't make a ruckus about this and prevent this from getting added to the full Farm Bill?
The first problem is structural. So at the state level, they've had to use ballot measures to get around entrenched lobbies. In this case, things start out in the House and Senate ag committees, which are heavily dominated by agricultural interests.
Yeah.
The majority of House members, I think, signed a letter against this in the last Congress, but the vast majority of them are not on the Ag Committee. And so the Ag Committee gets to decide what's in this bill. And the people on the Ag Committee, I mean, the House Ag Committee just hosted a hearing on this. They only invited lobbyists for the industry. They didn't bother to invite a single opposing witness to their hearing. We're also seeing that the industry is much better organized and funded on this effort than advocates are. So the industry is constantly flying out a bunch of big industrial pork farmers claiming they speak for the entire industry, telling the legislators this is their number one priority and absolutely has to be done. By contrast, animal welfare groups are not getting the same hearing. So legislators are not taking them as seriously as they take these ag groups.
But shouldn't there be some political constituency that's formed by the pork producers who are using more ethical standards and who are themselves being undercut by these Iowa farmers? Why aren't they getting flown out to these congressional hearings?
That's exactly right. There is a large constituency of family farmers who support these laws because it has created a new market opportunity for them where they can sell their already higher welfare meat and not be undercut by the industrial stuff. The problem they have is that they are far less wealthy and organized than the industrial pork interests. And so they don't have the money to just fly themselves to DC. They can't stop farming. The people who are actually doing family farming can't just go to DC and hang out for a week because they need to be farming and looking after the pigs on their farm.
But the meat lobbyist also, given that it's a commodity business, you would think that there wouldn't be that much surplus that they can dedicate to political lobbying. So everybody here is not doused in cash. We can't subsidize a couple plane tickets for these family farmers? What's going on?
I mean, there are people who are funding some of these family farmers to go to Washington, D.C., but we could see a far bigger effort. I think that voice is being hugely neglected in the debate. The other thing I'll say on the money the pork industry has is, yes, it's a commodity business, but it's also an oligopoly. And so you've got a very small number of firms that process the vast majority of pigs, and they do seem to make outsized profits. So they don't make the kind of profits you would expect. And across these industries, we constantly see price-fixing scandals and other antitrust scandals because it's a very small number of companies and it only requires minimal coordination for them to make greater profits than you would think they could.
If you enjoyed this clip, you can watch the full episode here and subscribe for more clips. Thanks.